Hi, welcome to Energising Flow today. So today we're going to look at strengthening the legs, the arms. So feel free to take whichever bits from today's class feel good for you. There'll be lots of options on the table, so no pressure to do all of them. It's whatever your body's feeling like. No props needed today. If you want to have a couple of blocks handy and you happen to have a couple of blocks, feel free to grab them. Otherwise, it's just whatever you might want to get cozy at the end, if you want a blanket or a cushion at the end, something like that. We are going to start kneeling, so if it feels comfortable to be in a kneeling position, then starting off like this. Having said about not having any props, it may be that if you do feel more comfortable kneeling with a cushion in between the thighs and the calves, that you might want to grab something like that. So yeah, feel free to grab something like that if you want. You can sit in a cross-legged position if you prefer, and you can totally tuck the toes under as well. So just looking after your body with this one and getting yourself to somewhere where you can hang out for a few minutes. All right, so once you've got to a place where you feel comfortable, then allowing the eyes to close, maybe the chin tucks a little bit. And maybe the hands come palm up in the mat, one on top of the other, so in a kind of little bowl shape. So this kind of position with the hands is a really nice one for receiving and for being open. So great way to start an energizing class if that feels good to be open. If you prefer, you can have the hands palm down on the legs instead. That's kind of a bit more grounding. So whatever it is that you feel that you need today. And then starting by taking a few deep breaths in and out, maybe in through the nose, out through the mouth. Or if Ujjayi breath is in your practice, feel free to take that. Wherever you are, maybe starting by seeing if you can bring the breath deeper into the body. So if it's been in the upper chest or the mid chest, maybe seeing if you can send it into the lower ribs, expanding to the sides and the back of the body, or sending the breath into the belly. Maybe checking in with how you're feeling today, how you're arriving in class. Maybe you're feeling full of beans, maybe you're feeling sluggish or tired. Noticing what's going on with your body. And perhaps setting an intention for your practice today. What is it that you need? Breathing in that intention as you inhale. Taking a couple more breaths, observing the body, observing where you're at today. And on your next inhale, slowly opening the eyes. And then allowing the spine to become tall, reaching up through the crown of the head, maybe opening up through the chest. As you inhale, drawing the shoulders up towards the ears. Exhale, allowing them to come down. One more time, drawing the shoulders up to the ears. And then maybe deep sigh out, allowing them to come down. And as you inhale, reaching the arms up above the head, palms to the front. Fingertips are reaching towards the sky. And then hands come together as you breathe out. Inhale one more time, reaching up, hands towards the front. Growing tall, growing taller. Exhale, hands to prayer. Bringing the right hand out in front, palm to the sky. And then the left hand crosses underneath, bend in the elbows. Maybe the hands come back to back here. Maybe the palms come to touch. Maybe there's that little bind with the fingers. And as you inhale, drawing the elbows up and away from the body. So starting to feel an opening, a little stretch in the shoulders maybe. Coming into eagle arms. Not worrying too much about the position of the hands, focusing more on getting that openness through the shoulders, that feeling of lifting up and away with the elbows. And exhale, releasing down. Maybe giving the shoulders a little shake. And then left hand comes out in front, palm to the sky. Right hand underneath, bending the elbows, maybe bringing the palms together, maybe the hands are back to back, or there's a little link with the fingers and thumb. Inhale, lifting the elbows up and away from the face, from the body, feeling that stretch in the shoulders. One more breath here. And then uncurling the arms, giving the shoulders a little shake. And then doing a little twist, a little opening twist to the side. So left hand comes to the outside of that right knee, drawing the right hand behind the body, little twist, open to the right. Maybe the gaze comes over the right shoulder, maybe you stay looking to the side. And then on an inhale, coming back to centre, right hand to left knee or left thigh. Left hand comes behind the body, opening, twisting through the waist, opening to the left hand side. Maybe the gaze comes over the left shoulder. And then inhale, back to centre. Coming on to hands and knees, so hands directly underneath the shoulders, knees directly underneath the hips. So coming into a sort of like a square tabletop position, gazes down between the hands, drawing the spine nice and long, the neck long, so reaching the crown of the head as far away as you can from the tailbone. And then as you inhale, drawing the chest through the arms, allowing the hips to rise, the gaze comes forward a little bit, coming into cow. Exhale, pressing through the hands, tucking the chin, rounding the spine, into cat. Inhale, opening and expanding, hips rise into cow. Exhale, tucking and rounding, option here to press through the hands, adding a little knee hover, lifting the knees a few inches off the ground. And then inhale, open and expanding through the chest. Exhale, tuck and round, option to add that knee hover. And lowering the knees down, pressing through the hands, tucking the toes, lifting the hips, coming into your first downward facing dog. So maybe the knees stay bent here, focusing on opening up the spine, drawing the neck long, allowing the head to be soft and heavy, gaze between the thighs. Maybe you pedal the feet, maybe you begin to straighten the legs, whatever feels best for you. On your next inhale, right foot comes forward in between the hands, followed by the left. Hands come to shins, gaze down, halfway lift. Spine is nice and long. And then exhale, releasing down to forward fold. If the hamstrings are tight, feel free to take a bend in the knees or to hover the hands, whatever feels good. Inhale, slowly rolling up through the spine, coming up to stand. Arms maybe come out to the side, up overhead. And hands to prayer. On your next inhale, drawing up tall through the spine, through the crown of the head, grounding down through the feet. Arms come out to the side, up overhead. And then lowering down, chair pose, bending the knees. Checking that the knees are not beyond the toes, reaching the hands forward and up. Exhale, forward fold. Inhaling to halfway lift, spine is long. Exhale, hands by the feet, stepping back into plank. Taking a moment in plank, and then lowering the knees maybe for this first one. Untucking the toes, bending the elbows to the back of the room, and lowering down. Pressing through the hands, and peeling up from the breastbone, coming into cobra, whatever feels good for you, for your spine. And lowering down, finding your way back to downward facing dog. So gently warming up the body, finding your place in downward dog, pressing down through the fingers, through the knuckles of the fingers of each hand. And then inhale, finding a way in between your hands, maybe stepping, walking or floating. Hands to shins, meeting in halfway lift. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, slowly rising up. Maybe the hands come out to the side, up overhead, following with the gaze. Palms together in front of the heart. Inhale, arms come to the side, up overhead. Hinging at the hips, forward fold. And maybe taking the feet to the width of the mat here. One hand inside the other into a ragdoll, opening up the back of the legs. Taking 2 breaths here. Releasing the hands to the mat, walking the feet back into hips width apart all together. Rolling up through the spine, coming back up to stand. Let's come through our sun salutation one more time. Inhale, arms come up to the sides, up overhead, bending the knees, chair pose. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, hands by the feet, stepping back to plank. And staying in plank for a few breaths, seeing if you can stay in a nice solid position here. Spine is long, gaze down in between the hands. And seeing if you can keep the hips nice and level, so not dropping and not rising. One more breath. And then bending the elbows, lowering all the way down, keeping the spine long, untucking the toes. Pressing through the hands, coming up into cobra. And lowering down, finding your way back, downward facing dog. Inhale, right foot comes forward in between the hands. Then bringing the back foot flat, although if you want to keep it lifted in a high lunge, if that feels better for you, then allowing the toes to stay up. Inhale, bending through the front knee, rising up, warrior one. So hips are facing forward in warrior one. So if that's not possible and you feel like you're kind of tweaking your hips, coming up onto the back toes, high lunge instead. Reaching up and cactusing the arms wide, lion's breath. Inhale, arms rise up. Exhale, hands by the feet, stepping back into plank. Taking a hold in plank. Body strong, grounding down through the hands and the feet. Bending the elbows, lowering down. Untucking the toes, finding your way into cobra. And exhale, downward facing dog. Inhale, left foot comes forward in between the hands. Grounding the back foot or coming into high lunge if that's better. Inhale, warrior one. Exhale, arms cactus, lion's breath. Inhale, rising up. Exhale, hands by the feet. Stepping back into plank, taking a hold here. Lowering down, untucking the toes, pressing through the hands, coming into cobra. Exhale, downward facing dog. Taking a few breaths here, opening up the back of the legs, head is nice and soft. Inhale, stepping, walking or floating. Finding your way to the top of your mat. Inhale, coming to meet halfway lift. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, bending the knees, rising up, chair pose. Holding for a couple of breaths. Keeping the knees bent, lowering the body, reaching the fingertips forward. And then inhale, rising up, and hands come down by the sides. Whew. Okay, let's come through one more time. Inhale, arms out to the side, up overhead, hands come together. And lowering down, let's take that forward fold for a moment. Feet come wide, hands inside the elbows. One breath here. Bringing the feet back to hips width, all together, rolling up through the spine. Inhale, arms out to the side, up overhead, lowering down, chair pose. Taking a couple of breaths here. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift, spine is long. Exhale, hands by the feet, stepping back into plank. Holding your plank, option to come down halfway if that feels good for you. Taking one more breath. And maybe coming through chaturanga this time, or lowering down, coming through cobra. Exhale, finding your way back, downward facing dog. Inhale, right foot comes forward in between the hands. Warrior one, back foot grounds down, rising up, bending through the front knee. Exhale, cactus arms, lion's breath. Inhale, arms rise up. Exhale, spinning onto the back toes, hands come down, finding your way back into plank. Holding for a breath in plank. And then option to come through chaturanga. Inhale, upward dog or cobra. Exhale, downward facing dog. On your next inhale, left foot coming forward in between the hands, grounding down that back foot, bending through the front knee, rising out, warrior one. Exhale, lion's breath, cactus arms. Inhale, arms reach up. Exhale, coming onto the back toes, into plank, holding for a breath here. Options come through chaturanga or lowering down through cobra. Inhale, upward dog or cobra. Exhale, downward facing dog. On your next inhale, finding your way to the front of the mat, stepping, walking, or maybe floating. Hands to shins, halfway lift. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, bending the knees, coming into chair. Grounding down through the heels. And then coming into half chair, fingertips reach forward. Hands either side of the ears. One more breath. Inhale, rising up to stand. Hands come to prayer. Whew. Deep sigh out. From here we'll come to play in a little balance in eagle pose. So using that arm variation from the start of class, an option to add the legs as well. So grounding down through the right foot to begin with, maybe thinking of the foot on a little tripod of support. So the base of the big toe, the base of the little toe and the heel. And drawing the weight into the right leg. And then maybe the left leg can lift and cross over. If you're already very familiar with your eagle pose, taking a little bend in the right leg and finding your place. Otherwise, option to stay here. Maybe bringing the hands to the chest to begin with. And maybe you lift the toes and let them hover out to the side. Maybe there's space to tuck the toes behind the calf. So this is not essential to get the toes behind the calf. It's often seen as essential, but you can totally have the toes off to the side or down to the ground. So this is about finding the place that's good for you today. For some of us, it's just not possible to get the toes behind the calf, so don't worry if that doesn't happen. And then if you want to add the arms, right arm comes out in front, left arm underneath, and same as we did before. Drawing the elbows up and away, sinking down with the hips, hugging the knees together. One more breath. Woo, maybe a little balance and a little wobble. Inhale, lowering down. So if you're on a very thick, squishy carpet like I am, you may find that your balancing's a bit all over the shop, and that's totally okay. In fact, when we wobble, when we're balancing, we're still building a lot of muscle strength. So coming onto the left side and coming in to draw the weight into that left foot, finding that tripod of support. And then allowing the right leg to come over, bringing the hands to prayer. So finding your place here with the feet, maybe it feels good to leave the right foot down. Maybe you take a bend through that left knee. Maybe the toes hover. Maybe they come behind the shin. So again, this is not essential for them to be behind the shin at all. If you want to have them to the side, if you want to have them to the ground, it's still getting into all the right places. And if you've got the toes hovering, you're still doing the balance. So going with whatever feels good. And then inhale, right arm out in front. Left arm out in front. Right arm underneath. And taking the bind on this side. So opposite hand this time. Elbows reach up and away. Hugging the knees together. Sinking down into the hips for one more breath. And then inhale, uncurling everything and bringing the leg back down. So giving the legs a little shake. Hopefully if I accidentally did the same arms and legs there, you figured it out and did the right ones. Sometimes it's easy to get a bit lost. So coming back up to the front of the mat and bringing the hands together in prayer. Bringing the feet to the outside edges of the mat, the toes are slightly out, the heels are slightly in. And lowering down, coming into Malasana squat. So bringing the elbows inside the knees and pushing out with the elbows. Option here, if you've got a block, you can pop that underneath the hips. Seeing if you can draw the chest forward, the spine long. So option to stay here. If you'd like to come into a bit of an arm balance, then straightening up slightly through the legs, lifting the hips. Bringing the feet to face parallel. And then if there's space, to bring the right hand underneath the right leg and the left hand underneath the left leg. So the hands are about shoulder width apart and behind the heels of the hands. So if you've got blocks here, you can bring the hands down onto blocks if that feels easier. And then option to walk the feet slightly closer into center. And maybe tuck one foot under the other. And maybe the feet lift from the ground. Coming into a little shoulder pressing pose here, a little arm balance. And totally okay to fall back and land on your bum, that's no problem. It's kind of how you end up learning this pose. So reaching forward with the chest, and option to keep the feet on the ground if you want, playing with a little hover, maybe one foot comes off, or to lift both feet. And then when you're ready, separating the feet and coming back up to stand. And taking a breath back in Malasana squat. So just a little fun balance to play with there. No worries if the feet didn't lift the ground. It's just a little bit of fun. One more breath here. And then bringing the hands to the ground. And bringing the knees to the ground into a kneeling position. So if you've got any issues with the knees, then for this one, I'd suggest coming into saddle pose. So in saddle pose, bringing the hands behind the body and stretching out the front of the legs this way. So maybe the hands come a bit further back, or maybe you press into the hands and maybe you lift the hips, stretching out that way. If the knees are feeling okay, and you know that hero's pose feels okay for you, then bringing yourself so that your Feet are outside of the hips and the hips sit down in between the feet. So if you get into this position and it's immediately not feeling good on the knees, then feel free to come into saddle. Feet are underneath the hips and doing the lifting up from there to get into the front of the legs instead. So in hero's pose, the feet are coming to the outside. So only if that feels good. If there's any tweaking anywhere in the knees, come out straight away, hands either side, and then come up and lift this way instead. If you are coming into hero's pose and you're feeling comfortable where you are, option to stay here, and you can absolutely sit on a block if that helps. So it might be that a little blanket under there is better. And if you want to, if you're feeling very open here, then you can bring the hands behind. And then it's up to you really how far you want to come down, what feels good for the front of your legs. So maybe you come down onto the elbows. So again, this is feeling into the knees, feeling into the front of the legs. This starts to also become quite a big back bend. So, you know, just taking care bit by bit, whichever one feels good for you. And if you're feeling really, really open, you've got a lot of openness in the front of the body, in the spine, then you may find that you want to come all the way down, tucking the chin, not looking to the sides, and maybe you come down all the way onto the ground. If you're here and you're very comfortable, the arms can come up over the head. So it's about where feels good for your body. If you're very tight through the front of the legs, this is not going to feel good at all. So not pushing yourself to be in a place that doesn't feel right. So finding your place, maybe you're up on the elbows, maybe you're staying in seated, maybe up on a block, and maybe you're in saddle pose. So this will be different for everybody, and finding out where's right for you that you can stay for a few breaths. Okay. So wherever you are, maybe bringing the eyes to close and taking a couple of deep breaths here into any places where you might feel maybe tightness in the muscles in the front of the legs, maybe any opening. Seeing if you can breathe any softness into those areas. And keeping a really good eye on the knee. If at any point that's not feeling good, just coming out. If you are all the way down on your back when you come out, using your hands, I tend to hold on to the heels, but it's wherever is good for you so that you can press into the elbows, keeping the chin slightly tucked and keeping the gaze straight. So you're coming up really evenly onto the elbows and then onto the hands. And then once you get here, bringing the hands either to the sides or forwards. And then I'd suggest, if it feels good, maybe taking a downward facing dog here to open up the legs, pressing through the hands, tucking the toes, and taking one last downward dog. And then inhale, lowering the knees down. Drawing the knees and the feet to the outside, coming to sit down. And we'll take Baddha Konasana here, bringing the soles of the feet together, allowing the knees to open up to the side. So if you're quite tight on the inner thighs, you might find that having a little cushion underneath the knees feels really, really nice and supportive. The feet can be as close in or as far away as you want, so sometimes taking them far away if you're really tight can feel good. And if you want to here, option to give your feet a little foot massage, or you can stay seated, maybe closing the eyes, tucking the chin. If you want to come forward, taking this into a forward fold, feel free to do so. Wherever you are, keeping the spine long, drawing up through the crown of the head. How can you let go in this pose? How can you feel more spacious? Send your breath down to any tight areas in the inner thigh and the groin. Taking one more breath here. And then if you've taken the fold, coming back up to sit tall, one hand under each knee, drawing the legs up, and then hands behind you, little windscreen wiper side to side, releasing the hips. And then finding your way down onto your back, lowering down from here. And to finish class today, option to take any inversion that feels good for you. So maybe it's bringing legs up the wall. So if you've got a wall handy, you might decide to have a little scoot up and bring the feet up like this. It's a really nice way to finish a class, taking this kind of really restorative inversion. It may be that you want to take a shoulder stand, or maybe plow, maybe you want to take a headstand. So finding whatever inversion feels good for you. If you don't want to take an inversion, then feel free to find a nice restorative pose on your back. Maybe having the knees bent, feet to the outsides of the mat. We'll just take a few breaths in whatever inversion you're choosing, if you are taking one. So whatever feels best for you, maybe it's the legs up the wall, maybe the shoulder stand, maybe a headstand, maybe plow. Whichever one grabs your fancy today. So all of these inversions are really good for the body. They really help with the venous return, so the blood flow in the body, the circulation. They're often really meditative poses. They're good for digestion. Allowing yourself to breathe in the benefits wherever you are, and letting the body receive this little bit of relaxation, of restoration after a hard practice today. And then from here, coming into whatever position you'd like to take for Shavasana. So maybe it's staying with something like legs up the wall if you're in a really restorative pose. Maybe you want to come onto your back. So wherever you are, finding somewhere that feels comfortable. So taking care to come out wherever you are. If you're on legs up the wall, then slowly bringing the feet down. But legs up the wall can be a really nice place to hang out, so feel free to stay there. Maybe you come onto your back, maybe opening out completely. So finding a place wherever you are, whatever position feels good for you, to take this Shavasana. Maybe you want to take a seated Shavasana today. Drawing the breath deep into the body wherever you are. Allowing it to fill and nourish every corner, every inch of the body. Maybe as you inhale, visualize sending your breath to all of these different points of the body. So inhaling, seeing the breath travel down the arms, reaching the very tips of the fingertips. Inhaling, visualizing the breath coming into the body, down the torso, down the legs, reaching the very tips of the toes. Inhaling, visualizing the breath coming into the body, going right up to the very crown of the head. And then inhale, inhaling, breathing the breath into the body, maybe sending it to all of those areas, every corner of the body. And exhaling, allowing everything to let go. If you have time today, I encourage you to stay here in your Shavasana, resting for a few moments longer. Allowing the body to receive this restorative pose and everything, all the benefits that come with it. Thank you so much for practicing with me today. I hope you had fun in today's class and it gave you what you needed. I look forward to practicing with you again soon. Namaste.